Today's social media segment is brought to you by South Louisiana Bank. It's better when we bank together. Waits and Downer, attorneys at law. Terrebonne Ford, built Ford tough.
Broussard's Automotive Repair and Tires, your trusted destination for automotive excellence in Houma. We proudly feature the ASC certified expertise of our team with an ASC Master Certified Mechanic always on duty. Locally owned and operated, Broussard's Automotive Repair and Tires is committed to ensuring your vehicle runs smoothly and safely. Our hours are 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday and 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. on Saturday. Broussard's Automotive Repair and Tires. Quality service at a great price.
Everybody, welcome back to Bayou Time. Harry McCullough here. Of course, we wrapped up the legislative session last week, maybe a week and a half ago now. But we wanted to get the Lafourche Parish perspective on things. Bryan Fontenot, District 55 State Rep, is here. So thanks so much. 5 years in now. Anything different now? I think I know something that's different. You guys, as Republicans, have a new governor, which is a little different in the last 8 years, I guess.
It certainly is a little difference in working with John Bell Edwards. We actually have a 2/3 majority in the House, 2/3 in the Senate. All statewide elected officials are now Republicans. So I would say if you look back now in 8 years and you still see some of these difficulties, Republicans will only have themselves to blame. We have complete control and can pass nearly any measure that we choose to measure. So it's been good to work with Governor Landry. I think he knows what he wants. He's moving in an expedient manner to get things accomplished across the state, from criminal justice to infrastructure. And as we head into 2025, I think you'll see significant changes, an examination of Louisiana's taxing codes.
Yeah, he's not calling y'all back because there won't be a special session or
I think that jury's still out, right? The Constitutional Convention is something that nearly all Republicans in the House voted for. The Senate did not take that measure up for debate, but I do believe that we probably are headed in some instances to start examining what issues should be removed from the Constitution in the framework of some type of document that should be represented to the people of the state of Louisiana. As you know, we rewrote the Constitution in 1973. The people voted for it in 1974, and that process took almost 13 or 14 months to come up with a document that was then presented for vote. In this instance, the governor's proposal was a little faster paced than many people wanted to see, but I thought we were just moving things from the Constitution and the statute. So certainly I would look towards the end of July, the first week of August, and there certainly could be an opportunity for legislators to be back in the Capitol for several weeks working on some framework of a Constitution.
Where they can do almost an amendment and not doing the Constitution, right?
That's kind of the general talk about what may or may not happen. The current state constitution, the way I read it, doesn't allow for anything limited. When we open up the Constitution, it may open up all things available in the Constitution, and that could be problematic for some issues that are important to us here in Lafourche and Terrebonne. Things like inventory tax, or mainly watercraft taxation, especially down in Port Fourchon and the Port of Terrebonne. Mm-hmm. If those were somehow removed in the ability to be taxed in the Constitution, it would have detrimental effects to the amount of money that's collected in ad valorem taxes in both parishes. So those things have to be dealt with cautiously. Although I am supportive of a Constitution, those items are clearly a front and center that must be protected to ensure that government can run effectively in these two parishes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you're vice chair of the Transportation Committee. So you guys are busy. That deals with a lot. So tell me about what you guys got accomplished there.
Yeah. So look, House Transportation is first year I served on it, as you said, serving as the vice chair of that committee. It's the first time in 28 years that anyone from Lafourche Parish has served in a leadership capacity. So honor to have been chosen by the Speaker of the House, but a lot of initiatives that are transpiring in House Transportation. I didn't know at the time, but currently we're sitting at about a $16 billion backlog in road projects. And so often people say, why can't we get things done? Why are my tax dollars not in good use? And I want to start with what to me is the most blatantly obvious thing. We have about 40 to 50% more miles of paved road in the state of Louisiana than the state of Texas. We have way more roads that we've given to state highways. And I'll use this as an example. The road next to John Deere in Thibodeau is a state highway. That road is set to go through what's called a road transfer credit. At the end of this year, we anticipate repaving that road, the state, and then the state will transfer it back to local governments for long-term maintenance. So the state has to get in the process of getting away from just giving roads away and making state highways to please local governments when it's truly a local government function. But with that said, this year we saw an excess in funds in personal income tax collections and corporate income tax collections. That excess was over $700 million. The Constitution dictates where those dollars go, but in short, we move some of those monies around and we move 300 plus million into shovel-ready projects across Louisiana in DOTD. Many of those are here in Lafourche. I think you're dealing with some down in Chauvin, some bridge initiatives. In Lafourche, we talk in Highway 652. In Raceland, we're looking at 308 to 182, a repavement. Highway 182 in Raceland, all the way back into the Houma area. All of those projects are on the list now with funding immediately available to go ahead and start construction. So from that standpoint, I thought it was a good initiative. Of course, $300 million against a $16 billion backlog. Sure. It's really not a whole lot of money, but I think it's a start in the right direction.
They all come out of different areas too, but you're going to have obviously the bridge that goes to Fouchon, would be in Lafourche. I drove today from Chack Bay to Vacherie or Vacherie to Chack Bay. That's all work being done too, right? But these are future things that are coming up.
Yeah. So the long term, let's go to Vacherie because that was obviously my area. That bridge, as you know, the contractor went bankrupt. He didn't have enough bond capacity to redo the bridge. We had to rebid, and it cost several million more dollars to get a new contractor. But you can see that is a new bridge crossing Bayou, and the current project takes it from 307 all the way to 3127 with shoulders.
Oh, okay. All the way, it's going to go straight?
It's going to make the curve.
Oh, I got you.
But it's adding shoulders. You see him putting the sand now in the water.
Right.
Phase 2, which I hope comes out in 2026, will give us shoulders from 307 all the way to the Chack Bay Church, which is desperately needed in the amount of crashes that we occur
there.
The
number of people that drive that way.
So I would think you'll see all of that come all the way into the city of Thibodeau in the next 5 years, which would be the plan. I think we're running behind, but adding shoulders on Highway 20 is an important project for me personally. As you know, I live right in Chack Bay, so it's important. I travel it every day.
No, but so many people take that way to get to the interstate to Baton Rouge. So, it's real important. Let's take a break. We've got a couple more segments to go. We'll be right back right here on Bayou Time.
Today's social media segment is brought to you by Alford and Associates for all of your insurance needs. CIS, Cardiovascular Institute of the South, the highest quality cardiovascular care available. Barker Honda, the Barker family tradition of quality.
Hey, welcome back to Bayou Time. Harry McCullough here. We're spending some time with State Rep Bryan Fontenot out of District 55, kind of Vacherie, well, more Chack Bay, right?
Yeah.
More Chack Bay area. From the Tozan line, right?
It is. Billy Tozan served in this seat when I was a young boy.
Yeah, I interviewed his folks when he ran for governor back, I think it was 85 or something, but we were all right off the road when we talked to them. Great family there. Let's finish up on some of the infrastructure stuff you were talking about. So not everything got passed, but there will be a couple of big bridges that we may see tolls on down the road?
Yeah, so one initiative that we've undertaken, it was called a P3 funding project. The one that we looked at and passed this time is the I-10 Calcasieu River Bridge project, which is a multiple billion-dollar project. The way that we positioned it is that a third party, I guess a private equity firm, would come in and pay the cost of the bridge. In exchange, they would collect the tolls. So when this project, I assume, is going to move forward in 25 and it's complete in probably 28, you will see a toll system on the interstate highway of I-10. I think, based on some testimony we heard from the Secretary of DOTD, that it is the only toll on a federal highway any place in America. So I would say that it concerns me. But it equally concerned me in the condition of the bridge and the amount of traffic that passes over that bridge.
And the stuff that goes over it. There's a lot of explosive stuff that goes over that
when
bridge.
You look at how much money this equity firm is going to make, you got to question, why didn't we bond the money?
Right.
Why couldn't the state make millions of dollars in the process? But a part of that entire contract involves the maintenance for 30 years and then the bridge turned back over to the state at the completion of the debt service in working condition. So we should have a good bridge, but it's going to be a toll. And that, look, I think a toll.
When will they start construction on that?
I think they start 25, into 25. They already got all of the drawings and engineering work done. It was a matter of securing funding, and that funding now is going to come
and as
from
you say, shovel ready. That's definitely shovel ready. So they would keep that bridge while they build the other one, I would imagine, right?
I would assume they're going to have some passage. You can't shut them both down, but they're going to be some passage there as we move forward.
Yeah, interesting there. Not everything Paso, and as a guy that's kind of, I think you made a reputation of anti-tax, that kind of stuff. The stickers, inspection stickers. There was some talk that was going to go away.
Yeah, there was.
Still with us.
There was a lot of talk about motor vehicle inspections and removing motor vehicle inspections. I voted yes to remove motor vehicle inspections. I see it as a tax on our people with really no gain. And I would go to, if you would go back and listen to the testimony of the people who run the motor vehicle inspection sticker stations, he was unable to answer simple questions as it pertained to vehicle safety. He couldn't give an answer on what's the legal tire tread depth in the state of Louisiana. That's the same guy that wants to take your $20 and put a sticker on your car. So I voted yes to move that bill. It ultimately died in appropriations because it generates $14 million a year for the state, of which $9 million of that goes to Louisiana State Police to fund state police. So I thought it was a good bill. I think it's unnecessary for the people of Louisiana. If we can't give you a safe road to drive on, we should question why should we make you have a safe vehicle. So I supported that bill, although it failed.
Yeah, we all for safe vehicles, but you see half the time they got a temporary plate and maybe an inspection sticker that is from somewhere else too. So you wonder about the enforcement. It's all the people that want to follow the law that's paying that tax. No doubt. Which brings me to enforcement and law enforcement, and that's where your background is. Cannabis. In New Orleans, I think now you go to a jazz fest and you're going, well, we're out in the middle, everybody's smoking pot. So it's not really enforced in New Orleans anymore, but the rest of the state, it's local, I guess. Cannabis and hemp in particular found a way to kind of sneak into selling different things.
Yeah, certainly. Look, so from where we started at in 2020 to where we are today, I think that Louisiana's even Republican body has moved more towards the legalization of cannabis. I'm not there. I remain supported with the law enforcement community. But either way, in 2020, the Speaker of the House, then Clay Scheck-Snyder, brought a bill that dealt with industrial hemp. Right. The federal farm bill allowed for industrial hemp. Yeah. The federal farm bill. What we didn't know at the time is that people would take industrial hemp and change its molecular structure to create THC, tetrahydrocannabinol, which is the chemical in marijuana that people use to get high. So we tried this year to change that. You can drive just in Thibodaux now, next to the Rally's restaurant in Thibodaux, there's a store that's selling this, and the front of the store says Louisiana Sky High. When I passed there with my 11-year-old child, he thinks it's a candy store. And in fact, we're selling THC in candy. Right. You may have seen in Rapides Parish just 3 weeks ago, a child in the 5th grade brought these gummies to school, and the entire class had to be sent to the hospital because the child was giving out the gummies. So I stood with law enforcement to try to rein that industry in, and we've done some work, but not what I thought we should have to do. I thought we should still be able to sell CBD, but that THC should be at 0. Nevertheless, we did get some restrictions. You have to be 21 now. The packaging has to indicate specific language. I think The community doesn't know this.
Right.
If you eat a gummy with THC in it and it's legally purchased, number one, if you test positive, then you're guilty of driving while intoxicated. If you eat a gummy or you drink these drinks that can be purchased at the local supermarket and you kill someone and you test positive for THC, then you are guilty or can be found guilty of vehicular homicide. So that drug under Louisiana's criminal law remains a substance that you can't drive a vehicle on. So I thought trying to bring THC in line with our laws was important. We lost in that industry. The hemp industry spent hundreds of thousands of dollars to keep this stuff available to people.
Well, I think we also ought to see what the Colorados of the world knows and see what the ramifications down the road before we pass any laws like that.
Concur.
Well, one more segment to go. We'll be right back on Bayou Time.
Today's social media segment is brought to you by Terrebonne General Health System. Your health is our legacy. Rouse's, you're either local or you're not. Buick, the craft of modern luxury. St. Martin and Bork, know your rights.
Everybody, welcome back to Bayou Time. Harry McCullough here. We're wrapping up the legislative session with Representative Bryan Fontenot, District 55. You're also, besides being on transportation, you're on the Criminal Justice Committee too, and that's a big part of, I think, a lot of people that don't go to New Orleans now, and I shouldn't say just New Orleans, but a lot of people worry about crime. 2020 was a rough time to be a cop. All of that stuff went into it, and I think there's still people kind of, ramifications from that. But you guys are taking on a crime task force. Right?
Yeah, no doubt. I think you saw Jeff Landry make this a very point of contentious in his campaign that he was going to address it, and he did so. Once he won, we put together a group of legislators, 6 of us. I was chosen to lead the way and help determine what bills can we look at and how do we change the direction of the criminal justice system. You brought up 2020. And I think we can look at 2020 and see that there were some issues behind COVID. But I want to tell you that now for 34 and 35 and 36 years running, Louisiana has more homicides per capita than any other state in America. So this is not a problem that occurred because of COVID. This is a problem that Louisiana has to face at this point, and it's time to come off of this list. Of the top 10 deadliest places to live in America, Louisiana has 3. 30% of the deadliest places in America are right here.
Of the top 10.
Of the top 10 are in Louisiana. New Orleans, Shreveport, and Baton Rouge. So we had to go back and understand, what did we do in 2017? I often hear from Times says, well, Louisiana is the highest incarcerated state in America. And I think they're right. But I just gave you what you needed to know, and that is we're the highest crime. So when you have a lot of crime and law enforcement officers are doing an effective job, then you should have people incarcerated. We looked at in 2017 in what we called criminal justice reform and reinvestment, where John Bell thought it was a good idea to reduce sentences for nonviolent offenders. I think in some instances, it probably had validity. So, but we did go back and unwind some of those initiatives. For instance, 2 years ago, if a judge sentenced you to 10 years in prison, you may have only served 22 months in prison. So we had judges
less than 2 years.
Right, less than 2 years, unless it was a violent crime which mandated an 85% sentence. We couldn't get the Department of Corrections to give people an answer as to how long they would serve. So now, effective today, any crime you sentence to in the state of Louisiana, from shoplifting to murder, you will serve 85% of the sentence. If the judge gives you 10 years, you're going to do 8.5 years. If he gives you 20 years, you're going to do 17 years. If you live peacefully,
right.
If you and that's, I want you to know that's the exact same schedule that the federal government uses. Mm-hmm. So if you live peacefully in our correctional facility, you got 85%. Then we came back and set up an initiative program that says if you get a GED, it's going to reduce your sentence. If you get a skilled labor, it's going to reduce your sentence. So all of these items can reduce it from 85%. But if you just live peacefully in our facility, you're going to do 85%. And some people would say, well, shouldn't you give them free time
just for being
peaceful? And the answer is no. They're in prison. They're incarcerated in a penal facility. The least they can do is follow the rules. And when they can't follow them in a penal facility, they will not follow them when they're released into society. So that was an initiative that we took over. We done away with early parole and early release. We limited who can be released going forward. We changed 17-year-olds now they can be charged as an adult. We increased the penalties for carjacking. We've increased the penalties for people who sell fentanyl. All of these initiatives were put together in a task force and came out and passed these bills. But we went further. You can't expect law enforcement to do all of these initiatives without funding them. I told you we put $300+ million into transportation, but we also put $154 million for programs for law enforcement. How do we divert money? How do we give them better equipment? And how do you address the shortage? How do you look at a shortage across all spectrums of law enforcement and expect them to do the job with less manpower? So the alternative is transpiring in front of our eyes. Things like AI, things like facial recognition, things like real-time crime centers where people can law enforcement can tap into people's personal security when crimes are occurring and get live footage. LPRs, license plate readers, you may see them now all over. Investing in those programs and giving local sheriff's offices and local police departments an edge in technology through funding through the state, I think is going to enhance our ability to be safe. I feel confident that we look back in 36 months from now, 60 months from now, and we will have reduced crime.
Yeah.
I feel confident that that's where we're headed.
Well, in the 1994, 95, in that range, I mean, there was 300-something murders in New Orleans, and it was actually Bill Clinton that had the cops put the crime bill, and it really made a difference. And now that's looked back as a terrible thing, and it's like it kind of changed things for good, I think, for law-abiding citizens.
There is a balance between enforcement, drug enforcement, and over-enforcement. I can tell you that in the times you referenced the 90s, that was the time that the America was dealing with the infiltration of crack cocaine.
Right.
We spent through that Bill Clinton dollars, millions and billions of dollars to fight crack cocaine. That drug just ultimately changed. But in the time that I commanded the Thibodeau Police Department's Bureau of Narcotics, we had an aggressive division. We were well seen. We made a lot of arrests. And the only time in the city of Thibodeau's history, we went 63 months without a murder. Right. Now we're having 5, 6, 7, and 8 a year. So there is a balance between enforcement and over-enforcement and delivering to the people a safe community. The drug of choice has changed. We know that. Today it's fentanyl. So we have to fight that battle. We have to incarcerate those people who can never and will never be good society people. And we need to find those that we can rehabilitate and invest the dollars in them and put them back in society when they're successful.
Yeah, a safe society, to me, is a basic right, So, no yeah, no doubt. Well, Bryan Fontenot, thanks so much for your time. I appreciate it, man.
Thank you very much.
All right, we'll be right back on Bayou Time right after this.
Broussard's Automotive Repair and Tires, your trusted destination for automotive excellence in Houma. We proudly feature the ASC certified expertise of our team with an ASC Master Certified Mechanic always on duty. Locally owned and operated, Broussard's Automotive Repair and Tires is committed to ensuring your vehicle runs smoothly and safely. Our hours are 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday and 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. on Saturday. Broussard's Automotive Repair and Tires. Quality service at a great price.